Especially the exocervix is covered by the squamous epithelium, whereas endocervix is covered by the columnar epithelium. But in cases of ectopy, that columnar epithelium of the endocervix comes out over the exocervix, so and it forms some reddish type of some mass, you can say some extra mass will be seen. So that condition is called as ectopion. So vascular ectopion. So this is commonly seen in pregnancy because of excessive hormones, estrogen and pill uses. Whenever the hormones are more like estrogen, progesterone, in pill uses also we prescribe hormones only. So in such conditions there will be formation of ectopy of the cervix, and ectopy of the cervix, it has a tendency to bleed on touch. Infections, suppose any cervical infections are there, chlamydia, tuberculosis, cervicitis, etc., can also cause contact bleeding. And cervical endometriosis is, as I have told you, the endometriosis means nothing but the implantation of functioning endometrium other than the uterine cavity. So that the functioning endometrium is implanted over the cervix, then it has a tendency to bleed under the influence of hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So it produces a similar cyclic changes just like the normal endometrium of the uterus. So similar things happens in the cervix. So next you can see here the metorrhagia due to cervical polyps. Here you can see the polyps which is coming out from the cervix. Here some hanging pedicle type of thing is the cervical polyps. And here you can see the cervix condition. This is a normal cervix. This is a cancerous cervix. This is low grade CIN, high grade CIN is the different stages of cervical cancer. And here you can see the severely cancerous cervix. So all these can lead to contact bleeding. Here the this slide shows the cervical carcinogenesis, how the changes occurs in the cervix. This is a normal cervix, and again this is the HPO. This is cervix infected with the human papilloma virus. HPO infection, HPV infection is there, human papilloma viral infection is there. Then this is a cervix, high grade intracervical lesion, you can say HSIL means high grade squamous intraepithelial lesion is there. Here this is one of the stage before reaching the severe cancerous stage. This is the early, you can say pre-cancerous condition of the cervix, and this you can see it is a fully developed or the final stage of cancer. So these are the different stages of cervix: normal stage, then HPV infection, and then this is a pre-cancerous cervix, and this is a cervix after the formation of cancer. The next, causes of intermenstrual bleeding. Intermenstrual bleeding is the bleeding which is occurring in between the cycles or menstrual cycles is called as intermenstrual bleeding. So apart from the causes of contact bleeding, other causes are urethral carbuncle. It is a mass which are formed on the urethra, especially in the postmenopausal ladies. Ovular bleeding occurring during the ovulation in some women. Breakthrough bleeding in pill users. See, after you prescribe progesterone, the after stoppage of the progesterone or estrogen progesterone combination, there will be breakthrough bleeding. So in such cases also it can occur in between the cycles. So that is the intermenstrual bleeding. Anytime it can occur. IUCD in utero, yes. If you have inserted copper T to a patient, then she complains of intermenstrual bleeding also. That she complains of some spotting in between the cycles. So that is to be considered as the intermenstrual bleeding. So one of the cause of intermenstrual bleeding is IUCD in utero. So you have to take a proper history of the patient. So contraceptive history indicates whether any device is inserted for the contraceptive benefits or not. Then decubitus ulcer, it is usually seen in cases of the prolapsed uterus. So this ulcer can also bleed in between the cycles. So these are all about the causes of intermenstrual bleeding. See here, hormone driven causes of spotting between periods includes premenopausal and the use of hormonal contraceptives. So this can lead to the bleeding in between the cycle, intermenstrual bleeding. Hormonal pills also. Then menometrorrhagia. There is one more term which is called as menometrorrhagia. Metrorrhagia we have covered. What do you mean by menometrorrhagia? See, menometrorrhagia is a term which is applied when the bleeding is so irregular and excessive that the menses or the periods cannot be identified at all. See, it is such a irregular bleeding and such a excessive in amount that it is very difficult to identify when the cycles have started and what is the initial stage or the day one of the cycle. So such a irregular, such a excessive amount of bleeding is occurring, and such a irregular and excessive cycles are to be termed by a term called as menometrorrhagia. Menometrorrhagia, where the bleeding is so irregular and excessive that the periods cannot be identified at all. So such a condition is called as menometrorrhagia. Metrorrhagia means a cyclic bleeding and irregular, but if it is so irregular and excessive that we cannot predict when the cycle started and when it is going to be stopped, so such a condition is called as menometrorrhagia. Treatment, again the treatment is directed to the underlying pathology, and because pathology identification is very important, especially first you have to rule out or exclude the malignancy. Malignancy is to be excluded prior to any definitive treatment. So the aim of going for the investigation is to exclude the malignancy, because early detection of cancer is very important. If the cancer is present inside and you are giving hormonal treatment and all, means it is a very bad practice. So the main aim of investigation is to rule out the malignancy first, then you have to diagnose the cause of it. That is the main aim of doing investigation, because ruling out or excluding the malignancy is very important. And cancer, if it is detected in the earlier stage, then we can prevent the morbidity and mortality of a patient because of cancerous conditions. Yes, coming to the next condition, it is called as oligomenorrhea. It is one of the cause of AUB. So the definition of oligomenorrhea goes like this: menstrual bleeding occurring more than 35 days apart and which remains constant at that frequency is called as oligomenorrhea. So here the menstrual bleeding is occurring for more than 35 days apart. That means the cycles are delayed. It is not frequent, you can say infrequent cycles, and which remains constant at that frequency is called as oligomenorrhea. That means more than 35 days once she is getting cycle. More than 35 days means in 40 days, 50 days, like once in a 2 months, 3 months, if the cycles are coming, then that is to be considered as oligomenorrhea. So menstrual bleeding, the definition of oligomenorrhea is menstrual bleeding occurring more than 35 days apart and which remains constant at that frequency. Only once, suppose if she got the cycles delayed for more than 35 days, then you cannot call that cycle as menorrhagia, oligomenorrhea. She is having oligomenorrhea, you cannot say. But if she is getting the cycles always late, like always later than the 35 days, and the frequency is constant, it remains constant for other cycles also, means every month she is getting late only. She is getting, suppose on 40th day, 50th day, that is once in 2 months, 3 months, and the frequency is constant. Once only she got, means you cannot call that condition as oligomenorrhea. But if she is getting the cycles always late, that is always more than 35 days apart, and this frequency remains constant, then this condition is to be called as oligomenorrhea. So oligomenorrhea definition is menstrual bleeding occurring more than 35 days apart and which remains constant at that frequency is called as oligomenorrhea. So coming to the causes of oligomenorrhea, common causes: age related. During adolescence and preceding menopause, it is commonly seen, because in such cases there will be some HPA axis disturbances will be there. Then weight related, obesity. Yes, obesity can cause oligomenorrhea by producing excess of androgens or excess of estrogens. So again there will be imbalance between the estrogen progesterone ratio. Stress and exercise induced. Yes, stress and exercise can also cause oligomenorrhea. Endocrinal causes, endocrinal disorders, especially the PCOS, hyperthyroidism and hyperprolactinemia can cause oligomenorrhea. PCOS is a polycystic ovarian syndrome. In this condition, the common symptom of patient is oligomenorrhea along with hirsutism, hair fall, etc., weight gain, etc. Hyperprolactinemia, here the prolactin secretion is excess, and hyperthyroidism, here the thyroid hormones are produced in excessive amount. So again, another cause is androgen producing tumors like ovarian tumors, adrenal tumors, which produces excess of androgens, can also lead to oligomenorrhea. Tubercular endometritis in late cases. See, before we have seen, no, in the tubercular endometritis in the early stages causes heavy bleeding, that is menorrhagia, whereas in the late stages tubercular endometritis causes the oligomenorrhea. So tubercular endometritis in the early stages causes heavy bleeding, whereas in the late stages it causes the delayed cycles or oligomenorrhea. And certain drugs can also cause oligomenorrhea. If suppose drug history is there, if a patient is taking any of these drugs, that also can cause oligomenorrhea, like phenothiazines. This is antipsychotic drugs. Cimetidine, it is given to control the gastric secretions in cases of hyperacidity, etc. Methyl dopa, it is one of the drug to control the hypertension or high blood pressure. If the patient has a history of taking any of these drugs, can also lead to oligomenorrhea. So drug history is very important. Next. Yes, coming to the next condition. Next condition is called as hypomenorrhea. Hypomenorrhea. Hypo means less. Here hypo, the definition of hypomenorrhea goes like this: when the menstrual bleeding is unduly scanty and lasts for less than 2 days, it is called hypomenorrhea. So the definition is, when the menstrual bleeding is unduly scanty, it is less in amount as well as less in duration. If it is less than 2 days, last for less than 2 days, that means if the bleeding is occurring only for 1 day and then it is too scanty also, such condition is called as hypomenorrhea. So less than 2 days with scanty bleeding is called as oligomenorrhea. So the causes may be local, endocrinal or systemic. Again, the local causes like uterine synechia, that is the formation of adhesions inside the uterus, or endometrial tuberculosis. It can also cause adhesions leading to hypomenorrhea. Then endocrinal cause like use of oral contraceptives, thyroid dysfunction and premenopausal period. Or systemic like malnutrition. If he is malnourished, like HB is less, anemic, pallor is there, weight is less, then in such cases also hypomenorrhea occurs. So malnutrition is one of the cause of hypomenorrhea, one of the commonest cause of hypermenorrhea. But other than that, you have to rule out the local causes of any adhesions present inside the uterus, or any tubercular infection she had suffered before, or endocrinal, like if she is using any oral contraceptives, thyroid dysfunction, etc. things can lead to hypomenorrhea. So hypomenorrhea is unduly scanty bleeding which lasts for less than 2 days, is called as hypomenorrhea. So what is this? As you can you see the figure? What is it? Yes, it is a palm and a coin inside it. Yes, it is palm coin. Yeah. Why I am showing this slide is, I'll show you. The newer classification system is known by an acronym called as palm coin. Palm coin is an acronym to classify the AUB. Acronym, causes of AUB. So if you remember the palm coin, you can remember the causes of AUB. So the newer classification system is known by an acronym palm coin by FIGO in 2011. It is used to classify the abnormal uterine bleeding on the basis of its etiology or causes. So one word, it indicates some pathology. P for polyps, adenomyosis, A for adenomyosis, L for leiomyomas. Leiomyomas are nothing but the fibroids. M for malignancy, C for coagulopathy, and O for ovulatory dysfunction, OE for endometrial causes, I for iatrogenic, and N for not yet classified. They are the different etiological factors expressed by one or more letters. The term DUB is a type of AUB where no systemic and local identifiable structural cause is formed. So DUB is a word which is frequently used. So what it is? DUB is also one type of AUB itself, but here there is no systemic or local identifiable structural cause. There is no structural cause, there is no systemic cause, there is no local cause, but there will be problems with some hormonal disturbances. So etiology of AUB, the common causes of abnormal uterine bleeding with the palm coin classification are shown here. The letter within the parenthesis indicate a pathology. See here, again this palm coin, palm indicates the first palm, the word indicates the structural causes, whereas another coin indicates the functional causes. So structural causes, or that is a palm, but it is indicated by a word palm. Palm indicates the structural causes like polyps, P for polyps. So you can denote this AUB and P. P means AUB because of polyps, and A for adenomyosis, AUB because A is the cause of AUB here, adenomyosis. L for leiomyomas, as I have already told you, leiomyomas are nothing but the fibroid uterus. AUBL means leiomyoma. So there are different types of leiomyomas like submural, submucous, etc., which can lead to the menorrhagia or any abnormal uterine bleeding. M for malignancy and hyperplasia. AUBM indicates AUB is because of any malignancy like cervical malignancy, endometrial malignancy, etc. So here the classification of AUB, the first word palm indicates the structural causes, whereas the coin indicates the functional causes. See, non-structural or systemic causes. Non-structural or systemic causes are indicated by the word coin, C-O-E-I-N, not C-O-I-N, C-O-E-I-N. Okay. So here C is coagulopathy. So here AUB-C. You can denote this condition with AUB because of C, coagulopathy. O for ovulatory dysfunction, AUB because of O, ovulatory dysfunction. AUBE, E for endometrial causes. If there is any cause with the endometrium like endometritis, tubercular endometritis, or any endometrial hyperplasia, etc. Then I for iatrogenic, AUBI, like any copper insertion is there and all, that is to be called as iatrogenic. And N for not yet identified, AUBN. See, unknown causes which is not yet identified comes under the last one, N, not yet identified, AUBN. So here is the coin, COEIN. So this coin indicates the non-structural systemic causes of AUB. See here, you can see, and you can denote it with this FIGO, classification of abnormal uterine bleeding, AUB, palm coin, structural causes and non-structural causes. And you can also denote this with a formula PALMCOEIN 10. And suppose if more than 2 causes are there, for example a patient with polyps and confirmed one Willebrand's disease could be classified as P1. P1 means polyps is there, and here coagulopathy, this disease comes under the coagulopathy, bleeding disorder, so C1, and all other things are 0. So palm coin. So this, like how we classify TNM cancer, in the same way we can classify palm coin. So if suppose more than one cause is present, then you can write a formula palm coin and you can denote the cause of AUB. This is slide. Coming to the diagnosis of abnormal uterine bleeding, a detailed history taking and physical examination should be done. So history taking is very, very important. Medical history should include the age of the patient, pattern of abnormal uterine bleeding, severity, associated pain, family history, and the use of medications. Second is a general and physical examination, which includes the pallor, edema, neck glands, thyroid, systemic examination, pelvic examination. First per speculum examination you have to go through. Then pap smear, it is a smear taken from the cervix to know the cervical cells, the condition of cervical cells, and to diagnose the cervical cancer. Biomanual examination are included. Then lab investigations include complete hemogram and thyroid profile, pregnancy test, coagulation profile. Pregnancy test just to exclude the pregnancy, because in cases of pregnancy, in abortion also there will be heavy bleeding. Paravaginal bleeding is one of the symptoms of abortion, so you have to rule out pregnancy also. You can go for UPT, urine pregnancy test also. Then imaging studies like ultrasonography, transvaginal, saline infusion sonography. Here we infuse the saline inside the uterus and we take a sonographical picture. So this gives more good, this is very very superior for the detection of intracavity pathology. Then hysteroscopy is also very good. With the help of a hysteroscope we can visualize the interior of the uterine cavity. So why to visualize this saline infusion sonography and hysteroscopy superior to the normal ultrasonography? Because we can detect the intracavity pathology like presence of polyps, submucosal fibroids which are present inside the uterus, and the polyps, uterine polyps which are coming from the inside of the uterus. So these all the intracavity pathology can be detected better with the hysteroscopy or saline infusion sonography. Next is MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, may be used as a second line procedure, especially in cases with adenomyosis. If you are suspecting adenomyosis, then you have to go for MRI, because adenomyosis cannot be diagnosed with other methods like ultrasonography and all. It is better diagnosed with the MRI, help of MRI. So you have to go for MRI if you are suspecting the adenomyosis. Then histological confirmation of pathology whenever possible. If you suspect any cancer and all, then you have to send patient for the histological examination. Hysteroscopy is superior to DNC because DNC, dilatation and curettage, is a blind procedure. So hysteroscopy allows the direct visualization of endometrial cavity abnormalities, and it has a therapeutic value as it can be used for polypectomy. Suppose while doing hysterectomy, if you find any polyps, you can simultaneously remove that polyp, or you can do the polypectomy also. So hysteroscopy is superior to DNC, and it is accurate in diagnosing endometrial cancer. It can be performed in an OPD setting. If you have the hysteroscope, it can be performed. It is a simple procedure, but the main thing is you need a hysteroscope, that instrument you need. Then MRI is useful in the diagnosis of adenomyosis when compared to ultrasonography, because by T2 weighted images you can better diagnose the adenomyosis. The next is ovulatory dysfunction, AUBO, which is one of the cause of AUB. Disorders of ovulation like oligo-ovulation, when the ovulation is not occurring every month. If it is like how oligomenorrhea will be there, no? Similarly, oligo-ovulation means ovulation is not occurring every month if it is less. Anovulation is absence of ovulation. PCOD, polycystic ovarian changes, and corpus luteum dysfunction may result in AUB. So these are the causes of ovulatory dysfunction, causes of AUB, ovulatory causes of AUB, like oligo-ovulation, anovulation, polycystic ovarian disease, PCOD, corpus luteum dysfunction are the causes of AUB. AUB may be present in the form of menorrhagia or heavy bleeding, irregular intermenstrual bleeding, or scanty bleeding. Most of the AUB are due to ovulatory dysfunction, and many are the result of different endocrine or metabolic dysfunction. So these are polycystic ovarian syndrome, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, hyperprolactinemia, obesity, and due to hypothalamic dysfunction like stress, weight loss, etc. So next is about the endometrial causes of AUB. Endometrial, AUBE. So primary disorders of the endometrium may be the cause of AUB or DUB. Imbalance in the level of different hemostatic mechanism may be responsible for heavy menstrual bleeding, like optimum level of endothelin 1, PGF2 alpha, formation of platelet plug, or the fibrin seal are essential to control the bleeding. As you know, these are the things which are essential to control the bleeding, especially the bleeding which is coming from the endometrium or the uterus. So excess production of plasminogen activators, production of substances that promote the vasodilatation like PGE2, PGI2 may result in AUB. So whenever these factors are produced more, like plasminogen activators are produced in excess quantity, and the certain prostaglandins like PGE2, PGI2, etc., which helps in the vasodilatation, if these prostaglandins are produced in excess amount, then that may also lead to AUB. And other local endometrial factors to cause AUB are endometrial inflammation because of any chronic endometritis, infection, or endometrial vascular pathology like angioma, etc., any tumor of the endometrium. Then these all cause the excessive or irregular or heavy bleeding, or you can say the abnormal uterine bleeding. So any problem with the level of hemostatic mechanism like prostaglandins and plasminogen activators, etc., and other local factors may include the infections and inflammation of the endometrium and any vascular pathology of the endometrium. Next is the iatrogenic or AUBI. Iatrogenic causes of AUB are breakthrough bleeding following the use of oral contraceptive pills. So whenever we are prescribing OC pills to a patient, so after the stoppage of the OC pills, she gets a breakthrough bleeding breakthrough bleeding. So that is one of the iatrogenic cause of AUB. Erected use of pills or any contraceptive, steroids, or use of IUCDs or LNG IO system. Even copper T can also cause the bleeding in between the cycles. Spotting will be there, or heavy bleeding sometimes. LNG IOS is again one type of the intracontraceptive device, levonorgestrone secreting intrauterine system. It is one of the contraceptive device which is inserted inside the uterus, which releases levonorgestrone. So this can also lead to the abnormal uterine bleeding. So all this comes under contraceptive pills, contraceptive devices. This all comes under the iatrogenic cause of AUB. So coming to the management options. Coming to the management options of a case with AUB, how you will manage. So management issues of AUB depend upon the pathology obtained in an individual woman. So first you have to rule out the pathology of the cause of AUB. Women with AUB with more than 45 years should have endometrial biopsy, DNC or hysteroscopy or directed biopsy as an initial step of management. So first, suppose that the age of woman is more than 45 years, so there the necessary is to go for DNC or hysteroscopy or endometrial biopsy, because when more than 45 years means she is premenopausal, and in that age, premenopausal, menopausal and postmenopausal ages, you have to rule out the malignancy or chances of cancer is more. So in such case, woman, if she is suffering from AUB, any abnormal bleeding, her age is more than 45 years, like 50, 55, 60 years, have to go for the investigation, especially the biopsy or hysteroscopy, to rule out the cancer. If adolescents, girls with the AUB or heavy menstrual bleeding need exclusion of bleeding disorder. See, if the bleeding is occurring in adolescent girls, age is less, and if it is too heavy, then you have to rule out the clotting mechanism or any bleeding disorder. So you have to rule out whether she is suffering from any bleeding disorders like platelet deficiency, idiopathic thrombocytopenia purpura, or any Willebrand's disease, or any hematological problem. So you have to rule out that thing by doing coagulation profile, hemogram, complete blood picture, etc. Complete hemogram, platelet count, prothrombin time, partial thromboplastin time, etc. are needed to rule out any clotting defects in those cases. So this completes. In short, the clinical type polymenorrhea is frequent cycles less than 21 days at regular intervals. Menorrhagia is excessive, more than 80 ml, or prolonged menstruation for more than 7 days at regular intervals. Metrorrhagia is excessive, more than 80 ml, or prolonged menstruation at irregular intervals. Menometrorrhagia is both intermenstrual bleeding, episodes of uterine bleeding between regular menstruation. Hypermenorrhea is scanty menstruation, or oligomenorrhea is infrequent menstruation for more than 35 days. So this completes AUB topic. Thank you. I request all students to go through the topic and make short notes of it and by heart the definitions of each type of AUB. Yes, thank you.